time, and we didn't start on time, we're 13 minutes behind, so I'm gonna get us going. Thank you everybody for being here, a lot of great faces, a lot of new faces, same old people, I love it. But we got a lot of things to cover today. There's gonna be time for questions. Afterwards, right now, we've invited a bunch of experts to kind of talk about the situation. I was gonna be your mistress of ceremony today, but y'all know I'm a doula as well, or maybe you didn't, but I'm also a doula and I have a client that's about to have a baby. So she can come in anytime, so if you see me leaving, wish me well and her because she's about to give birth. Anyway, so we're gonna get started, and I can't remember the agenda, but I know Ellen's around here somewhere. Hey, Elle. Hey. Thank you. I know Ellen sent a bunch of emails out and everything. So as you know, maybe you don't know, I'm just gonna assume you don't know for now, since you're here. My name is Monica Huertas. I'm the Executive Director of People's Port Authority. We've got a jam-packed meeting for y'all today. We're going to, this is a joint meeting with the Washington Park Neighborhood Association and a bunch of other different folks. And like I said, there's going to be some experts here that really know what they're doing. Ron from, what's the name of it? South Providence Neighborhood Association. And who else am I missing? I think People's Sport. Yeah, People's Sport, me and Ellen and everybody else. So yes, like I said, jam-packed. Where's Jay? I saw Jay when I came in. Jay, come in here because we're getting this started. We're doing this. So Jay from Save the Bay, y'all.
Hey everybody, Jed Thorpe. I'm the Director of Advocacy at Save the Bay. As I think a lot of you know, several years ago, about 5 years ago now, the eastern end of Public Street was designated as a public right-of-way to the shore by the state's Coastal Resources Management Council. Shortly after that, the city and a lot of other folks, including folks who are in this room, started thinking about how can we improve the end of Public Street, beautify it, make it more pedestrian friendly. They came up with some conceptual drawings, but a lot of that got sort of put on pause because during that time we also discovered that there was a pipe at the end of Public Street, kind of below the water, that was leaking out some sort of what at the time appeared to be some kind of petroleum-based discharge. Since then, and I'll hand it over to Kevin Proff at the city in just a second, the city has been working with the adjacent property owners, including Rhode Island Energy, who is the responsible party for the property to the south. They've been working with them to kind of get to the bottom of where is this discharge coming from. The complicated part is that it's the city's pipe. It's a very, very old pipe, an old brick pipe, but it's probably Rhode Island Energy's pollution that's getting into that pipe and then finding its way into the river. This has been going on for, I would say, frankly, too long now. It's been a few years. DEM has been made aware. The city is trying to get resolution, frankly, trying to get, I believe, Rhode Island Energy to split the bill to fix the pipe. And I don't believe that they have yet come to resolution, but the negative thing here is that we have some grant dollars that have been allocated to improve the end of Public Street, and we're at risk of losing those grant dollars if this doesn't get resolved quickly. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Kevin Proff at the city to tell me what I missed. So go ahead, Kevin.
Thank you, Jay.
Question, what is the DEM?
Thank you. Sorry. DEM is the Department of Environmental Management. So they're the state agency ultimately responsible for making sure we don't have pollution going into our waterways.
And given a fine.
Yes, they do enforcement, issue fines, things of that nature as well. Yeah. Any other questions about what I said, any acronyms that I failed to explain? Okay.
Hi, I'm Kevin Proft. I'm the Deputy Director of Sustainability for the City of Providence, and I've been working on the Public Street project for a couple years now. Jen gave you a pretty good summary of where the project came from and what it is. The goal of the project is to create attractive and beneficial public access to the waterfront. Right now, if you go to Public Street, it's not a great place to spend a lot of time. So we want to introduce more kind of like nature-based solutions, trees, have some amenities when you get out to the shore there so that you can sit and enjoy that waterfront area within the port, which generally cuts residents from this neighborhood and your neighboring neighborhoods off from the waterfront. So that's the intention of the project. We've been working on it for a couple years now, and we've kind of had these side-by-side efforts going on. One to design the project, and that's coming kind of to a close. We have a design that reflects a lot of the feedback from the community that we got during that process, and then we had this other kind of parallel process of trying to figure out how to resolve this petroleum discharge issue at an outfall, one of the pipes that goes into the bay. So there's this older stormwater pipe. It runs all the way, from really up Eddy Street, up near Eddy Street and beyond, down Public Street, and then eventually drains. It's just stormwater. It's not sewage. Drains into the river, and with relative frequency, you can see this like oily sheen on the water down there at the waterfront. So in order to get this project permitted, we CRMC, the other agency that Jed mentioned, and that's Coastal Resource Management Council, which is another environmental permitting entity and regulatory entity. They wanted a resolution to this petroleum issue, kind of packaged up with this project. So where we stand right now, like Jed said, the city is working with Rhode Island DEM to try to get Rhode Island Energy to take responsibility for the contamination that's finding its way into the pipe from their property, which is a former brownfield. Brownfield is like a site that's highly polluted, and in order to be redeveloped, it needs to be cleaned up first. So that site has been cleaned up, but when you clean up a brownfield site, you don't really get rid of all of the toxins in the soil. Usually you get rid of the worst stuff, and then you put what's called like a cap on it. In this case, it's a big asphalt cap, so that you would never have people being able to reach and touch the soil if it's contaminated, and the stormwater goes off into a cleaner is directed in a cleaner way, so it doesn't soak into the groundwater and get polluted. So that site is remediated. It is a remediated brownfield, but there's still petroleum in the soil there, and because it's right at the water line, right? Like if this is the pipe, the water line's always going from the bay, right? It's like right at sea level. The water line's kind of always going up and down with the tides, and even with the rain, right? The water table. And it kind of goes up and down right along the edge of that pipe. And the pipe is just a masonry pipe. It's just brick. It's an older pipe. It's in reasonably good condition considering how old it is. But you can see, right on the images that have been taken with the inside of the pipe that water gets in there. You can see like the staining of water coming down the side of the pipe. So using kind of the data and the reports and the videos that Rhode Island Energy themselves have kind of accrued over the years that they've known this issue is here, the city put together what we think is a pretty compelling case that Rhode Island Energy is at least contributing to the petroleum discharges that are happening down at Public Street. We brought that to DEM and asked them to talk to Rhode Island Energy about it and really enforce against them, right? Say you've got to clean this up so that we can get this project permitted. I think DEM was hoping that Rhode Island Energy would be more collaborative in their response to that request. So DEM did go talk to Rhode Island DEM. The city did offer to pay for part of the clean out of the pipe. The pipe really isn't all that blocked. The only reason we'd be cleaning it would be so that Rhode Island Energy can go and resolve the pollution issue. So we offered to pay for half of the cleaning of the pipe. We think that's probably about like $120,000, $130,000 total to clean the pipe, to prepare it so that then Rhode Island Energy can go in and do whatever they have to do to stop it from, stop that oil from getting into the sides of it, which would be kind of phase 2 of the project. So the cleaning is phase 1, the resolution is phase 2, and it would be kind of up to them how they wanted to approach that resolution. But yeah, in the end, Rhode Island Energy still didn't take responsibility for the pipe. That leaves DEM really, I think, left without other options. But
to speak on that too.
What's that?
DEM is here. So
Oh, okay, great. So I'm hopeful that through this effort that DEM put in to get Rhode Island Energy, or the city and DEM put in to get Rhode Island Energy to resolve this, let's say, amicably, that we'll get to that next stage of enforcement now and move this along.
We'll see. DEM was supposed to be here. I don't see them now.
Well, one of them was here.
Who's the DEM person?
Chris, you're not in the position to speak for DEM on this.
No, not you,
I
not
don't know,
you.
I'm not gonna put you on the
Chris,
spot. There's nobody here
come
from
tell us
Environmental
what the solution
Enforcement.
is.
No, there was a specific enforcement. No, excuse me, Chris, because he don't work with that section.
I'm
So
kidding.
there's a part, there was supposed to be, Terry told us that he would send somebody.
Yes.
Did he not, to speak? Say it again?
He's gonna send 2 people.
2 people. And I don't see them here. So let that be on record, exactly. So DEM, okay, flip floppy, but what else do we expect? Would you gonna say anything else?
No, I just think that it is not the best outcome that Rhode Island Energy didn't say, all right, we see this and let's get the pipe clean. But I think it did hopefully move us one step closer to DEM taking like an enforcement approach rather than a
Well, they better.
collaborative.
But they better, and that's what we're here to say today, that DEM needs to do what DEM is supposed to be
And
doing and enforce their own rules and regulations, because if I had an oil spill in my house, and DEM came within an hour of that spill, so guess what? They need to do the same thing for public street and stop acting up.
It's been 3 years.
Exactly. So, hold on, we're gonna move us, unless it's burning questions.
It is a burning question.
Go, Linda.
Considering now that there's only one entity that has a sewer line, because Pete's Tire Barn is going to be gone, could they just eliminate the pipe completely and just use Allen's Avenue sewer connection for that building?
I don't think so. I think we have looked at that before. Yeah.
Okay.
I can bring it back again to Fuss and
Okay.
O'Neill and find out
Okay,
if
thank you.
that's
Thank you,
possible.
Doug.
Yeah, Doug.
So I want to ask the question, what is the benefit to DEM, or the benefit, let me rephrase that question, not DEM. What is the benefit to Rhode Island Energy to potentially delay? And I want to bring it to everybody's attention that there's been a report put out. Rhode Island Energy spends more money working against, lobbying against environmental legislation at the State House than any other entity in this state. We need to know who we're working with and what their MO is as we move forward.
They don't want to pay.
Thank you.
They don't want to,
Yes.
they just want to rip us off.
Go ahead.
There's a timeline that there's with the funds for the project, for the public street project. When is that set to expire? Because that is all of the money to actually do the project.
Yeah, we have.
We'll sort that out. There was a big collaborative effort to make that happen. Community took part in the project, and now we're going to let Rhode Island Energy waste that. You know what I'm saying? It's like, what is we here to move that along?
The timeline is that one of the grants, there's a couple grants. One of them is the grant term ends on March 31st or April 1st, and they wanted to see action towards resolving this issue before they gave us a further
Is that the remediation
extension.
project, or is that the actual?
It's all for construction.
Okay.
Yeah, but part of that grant funding, if we were to pay for part of the clean out of the pipe, would go towards that as well. So I think the other good thing, or I don't know if it's good, but the like higher up people, the people that are like more important than me, are talking about this and working on it now, right? It's like the mayor's chief of policy and resilience, right? And it's like Terry Gray at DEM, who's the director of DEM, are working on this in a way that they weren't engaged in it before. So it is still slow and bureaucratic, but it's like the people that get to make the decisions about these things or have the most influence about making decisions on these things are talking about it.
Because we're pushing them.
I think that is absolutely true. And I would also say that like both the city side, right, like the chief of policy and resilience, chief of operations, and even the director of DEM have been in touch with the people that provided our grant to like give them an update and be like, hey, we are really working on this. We're not just kicking it down the road. So I think that will give the grantors more confidence that something's going to happen here and reason to extend the grant again.
Question?
But I hear you.
Yes, I guess I'm confused. You talked about collaboration at the beginning. It seems like if the DEM is an enforcement agency, why are they just not enforcing this instead of trying to work as a collaboration?
Hello.
Yeah, I don't think that's uncommon. Yeah, I think that usually with that type of situation, you try to come to an agreement without an enforcement action because the enforcement action can take a very long time.
Yeah, sometimes enforcement can slow things down
Yeah.
considerably because then they lawyer up and then you're stuck in the courts for God knows how long.
Yeah.
So sometimes if you're trying to get fast resolution, enforcement can help and sometimes it can hurt you. So it's a risk. Yeah.
Got it. Well, I guess shouldn't they have the power to just send a fine? But like, where
Yes.
Well, they could issue a fine, but that would be an enforcement action, which then Rhode Island Energy could appeal that fine through the enforcement, as part of the enforcement process, which then potentially gets drawn out. So I think, what, and I don't want to speak for DEM, but since they're not here, I will. I talked to Terry Gray about this last week when I was up at the State House, and he said that they are prepared to issue fines if they have to, but he's trying to send a message to Rhode Island Energy. Like, listen, if this goes to enforcement, you guys are going to spend more in lawyers than you would just paying to clean up the dang pipe. So I think he's trying to send that message without having to slow down the process.
And we know they will, because to Doug's point, we know they will spend the money on it. But we just gotta keep the pressure on, I think. Yes, last question.
Okay, so I just want to know what the end game is. So this pipe is going to stay in place and it's going to continue to discharge into the river? It's just that you want to clean up what is being discharged?
Yeah, it's a pretty typical pipe or setup, right? Like many of our stormwater pipes go directly into like what's called like a receiving body, I think, right? Like a river or the Providence River Bay. So it's not so much that there's stormwater coming out of the pipe and going to the bay, it's that there's stormwater with petroleum in it going out of the pipe into the bay.
But once they fix that pipe, you shouldn't get that infiltration
Right.
from the
So-
petroleum that's in the soil at that site. So the plan is to not have that petroleum going
Yeah,
in
so
there.
like one example of like how you can fix it, you can line the pipe. You can basically
Exactly.
somehow put some other barrier that the water would go through that interior pipe inside of the bigger pipe so that it's not leaking in anymore.
I just wanted to get a sense, this is a pipe that is, I don't know, legally being used.
Like, yes, it's like a lot of stormwater pipes that we have all over the city.
Yeah.
Right?
He like, last one.
I just wondered if there was a contact for Rhode Island Energy that perhaps public pressure campaign or like people writing, who should we talk to?
That's a great idea. You can talk to us, and if you want to head that, you can certainly do.
But you don't know who the person is there?
Yeah, we have a bunch of contacts. We invited them to this meeting.
Lenny's got some contacts.
Yeah, we invited them. We invited them. But finally, if y'all want to head sign up, let me know and we can provide support. I'm wrapping this up, y'all, this part, public street. If you have any questions, feel free to talk to folks after, etc. There's a lot of things on the agenda. Shout out to the Child Care Collective. Thank you for being here today. Yeah, it's important, we have to provide child care at all meetings so they can be accessible to everybody. Now, for real, I'm gonna introduce Ron. So South Providence Neighborhood Association, for real. I was having a brain fart, sorry Ron. And Ellen, they're gonna talk about this port master plan, and I've seen some of y'all participate, I've seen many of y'all participate at this port master plan. They're gonna get into it a little bit, talk a little bit about it, and new stuff that's going on.
All right.
You're welcome. Thank you.
We'll let Ellen kick it off, but good evening, everyone.
But you just want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, Ron Crossan, longtime South Providence Neighbor Association, president of the South Providence Neighborhood Association, but actually born and raised in South Providence and living there right now, amongst the sea of parking lots.
And my name is Ellen Tizzolo. I go by Elle. I use mostly they, them, and she, her pronouns sometimes. And I'm a staff member for the People's Port Authority. I also live in Washington Park. So neighbors with all the Washington Park folks who are here. I just want to see by a show of hands, how many people have been engaged at all in the Provport master planning process? Just to see how much background I need to give. Okay, cool. So about half. I'm going to do like a tiny bit of just baseline so people can follow what we're talking about. So the Proport Master Plan is happening because of community pressure, right? It's happening because a whole bunch of us showed up at City Council when they were renegotiating the lease for Proport, which is the entity, it's the nonprofit organization that controls, is it 60 or 40% of the port? I always forget. 40. It's 40% of the port, okay? And that's a piece of the port that then is controlled by a nonprofit organization that subcontracts with a company called Waterson Terminals, all right? And so if you all know like the area down by the Johnson and Wales campus, like where all the windmills are, that's all Proport down there, okay? So we pushed really hard when they were extending the lease. So the city leases the land to Proport, who then operates this area of the port. All right, so they have control over who the tenants are. They have control over if there's a gate, there's like a security gate, and all back there is all the operations of Proport, aka Waterson Terminals. Okay. Does that make sense? Yeah. It's confusing. Some people confuse. There's Proport, and then everything north of that we just call Port of Providence, and that is a bunch of different individual operators, okay? So we have this opportunity through this process that we pushed for, the community members pushed for, to engage with this master plan. So what that looks like is the master plan was set up with something called the Master Plan Advisory Committee. Master Plan Advisory Committee, here I will call it the MPAC from now on, okay? So the MPAC is a group that represents community members, it represents tenants of the port, it represents folks from the city. Who else? That's pretty much it. And then there's a bunch of consultants. One of them is here. Raise your hand, Tim. Tim Shea, who works for Civic, one of the consulting organizations on the project. Okay, so we have been getting together, get this, since May 29th of 2024, okay, having these meetings, talking about what the plan is going to look like. We've been bringing our community concerns and priorities to this group. It's been it has been a lengthy process, put it that way. So, I wanted to say there is a website that maybe somebody want to jump up and write this up on the board. Proport, there, Tim, perfect. PropportMasterPlan.org, okay? And under the events tab, don't go to the library because it's not updated, okay? Tim, still that's on the to-do list, okay? Update that library. Don't go to the library, go under events. You can look at every single PowerPoint presentation. There's a ton of information about the port. There's a ton of sort of documentation of the process that you can check out, okay? All right, so this whole thing's been going on for almost 2 years. This past Wednesday, March 4th, the draft master plan was released to the members of the Master Plan Advisory Committee, okay? It is a 223-ish page document that is full of a lot of very important information that's going to impact the future of our neighborhood. And we are taking the review of this document really seriously, and we also invite anyone who would love to everyone has a bunch of extra time and wants to hang out with us and read like a very long, complicated document. You are most welcome. Let me know. I will bring you in, loop you in. So there's been a subset of the folks in the MPAC who are community groups. We've been meeting for some time, and now we've set up weekly meetings with the folks who are writing the master plan so we can give them feedback. So we can say, hey y'all, this is not what we thought you were gonna say in here, or hey, this part's looking good, or can we tweak this, or that is terrible, whatever. We're saying all of those different types of things. And we just want you to know that that's sort of the diligence that we're putting towards this plan. And again, anyone who wants to get involved, we really welcome it. The final public community outreach meeting they're called is happening on April 4th. Okay, also, can you put that up on the board, Tim? Yeah. So April 4th, from Saturday, April 4th, from 10 to 2, this is going to be at CCRI's Liston campus. It's in South Providence. And that's going to be an opportunity for community members to come, and we hear that it will be very interactive and a way for people to learn what is in this plan, okay? And also react to it and say, yes, that's what I was hoping for. No, that is absolutely not what I was expecting. No, we need more accountability for these polluting industries. No, we need more community oversight and representation, right? That's all good things to come and say. And we can also keep you all updated on that. So we're also going to need folks to show up at a city council hearing, which is going to be sometime in May. We don't know. Tim, actually, is there any update on when those city council things are going to happen? So I'm just gonna let a little bit of the cat out of the bag right now to tell you all that when we got this 223-page document, we were like, OMG, like this is too much for community members to read, digest, understand, talk to our neighbors about, be able to push back on, be able to say what we agree with. It's too much. And so we are going to continue to push back on the timeline so we can get more time to sit with this and to make sure that all, we've been in this process for almost 2 years, and we're kind of like, what's a couple more months? Like it's been 2 years and this is the first time we've seen the plan. There's also like, I don't even know, I'm gonna guess at least 50 to 100 pages of appendices that we haven't seen, okay? They have not been released. And those pieces, it's like, that whole devil's in the detail thing?
Yep.
Like that is very real with stuff like this. So people can say a whole bunch of nice things about the blue economy and we're gonna make this all green infrastructure, blah, 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 and then they're like, oh, but that actually means is we're gonna build a bunch of missiles in your neighborhood, okay? Like, no, we're not for that. Like for real. So we have to get into those details and we need y'all's help with that. So again, anyone with extra time, people who really like to nerd out about things like this, please, we invite you. Okay, last thing, and I'm going to pass it over to Ron. So make sure you come Saturday, April 4th, 10 to 2. Come to CCRI. Please engage with us. Please engage with the process. We need folks to come out to that. Bring your friends, bring your neighbors, bring your cousin, everybody, your nibblings, whoever, okay? We also need people to show up to the public, to the city council hearing. We're not really sure what we're going to say at that hearing yet. We may come and be saying, there's some things we like, there's some things we don't like, but like, all right, we may be coming and saying, hell no, don't approve this until we get a few more things that we want and need, okay? We don't know how that's going to go yet, but we'll definitely keep you all updated on that. So, did I cover all my parts?
You did.
Okay.
You covered a lot. Breathe. And I do have to say, Ellen's been a whirlwind with the rest of the team. Let me just provide a little bit of context as well. When Ellen talks about the showing up on the 4th, some of the things that the impact really has been facing, right? We get all these things in the community over the years of who's this small body of, selected persons to sit around a table and call themselves an advisory committee, and what are they making decisions on? They don't represent the entire committee, the community, and things of that nature. I think the people sitting around the table, actually, we take that seriously and we understand that, right? So a lot of what we have been focused on doing is really kind of directing what needs to happen in the meetings with the full community, coming back and trying to help synthesize what's come back, pushing for realistic opportunities. For one of the things that we're pushing for is, look, you're going to have a community meeting on the 4th. It's great that the impact community just got it, but what about the rest of the community? Can the rest of the community get a chance to read the full document before it goes out and not have it be embargoed, so to speak? In terms of that. The other thing too is that in looking at the impact, you get into these situations where it starts to happen as a convening, and you're brought into a meeting and everything sounds good. You start, you start to kind of go through the motions of reading what the next meeting is supposed to be about and things of the nature, and adding comment. But then you get towards the end and we're sitting there going, wait a second, where's this deliberative body in terms of making sure that it's captured? Like, we're not just making these recommendations that somehow find their way into a PowerPoint or don't find their way into a PowerPoint, but we need to make sure that there's deliberative decisions that are captured, whether or not they find their way into the final draft themselves. And I do have to say, the team that we've been working with, GZA and Tim and Civic, have really have been very open to those comments that we've been making about that. And one of the things that we came out, we were talking about, like, how do we take votes? Let's make motions. Let's make sure that we clearly are making it heard that we as an impact community or impact committee, as a majority or so, have this position. It hasn't found its way into the document, but we feel strongly about it. And by the way, when we say we feel strongly about it, I want you to know that what we've been doing is listening to the feedback that's been coming through the listening sessions, things of that nature. It's not just, our voices or so. So that's what we're trying to do. So with respect to, one of the things that we did get agreement on is we are going to, as an impact, issue a letter or a document that will be signed by those who sign on to the recommendations that we feel, as an impact body, that we feel need to be included in the actual final draft if it has not been included. And that will be a part of the official record that, it's been, we've gotten agreement that that's going to go into the actual document and be a part of it, so that city council and future bodies that are looking at it can see, well, the community was really asking for this, but it really didn't get in there. In addition to that, we've also gotten, pretty much agreement that other community organizations and members can also provide similar feedback, and that will be made a part of the actual body of the draft itself. That will be made part of, it won't be this attachment, you gotta go see attachments, section C that you can't find anywhere. It's gonna be a part of the actual document itself. So that's important. In addition, for the community meeting on the 4th, what's really important, we are gonna have an impact table. And there we are going to be, by that point in time, we will have hopefully digested as much of the draft as we can, make recommendations as to what we feel we've been strongly recommending but are not in there. And we're going to have sign-off sheets so that if you're interested in supporting that particular issue, we would love to get you to, talk to you about it, have you sign up, so we can also, when that goes to City Council, even though it's not included in the draft, they can see that it's more than just a few people who feel that way, that it's more of a community that can address that. Yeah.
Can I add something real quick? I'm wondering, because there's a bunch of people in this room, and okay, we made a promise at our meetings, we don't just, we tell it like it is, right? And there's a few people in this room who've spent some time with the plan already, and I'm curious if anyone feels like they want to share anything, any initial reactions to the actual master plan. Anyone?
I'm just wondering that there's still potentially hundreds of pages to release.
Yeah.
And they promised to have 30 days to review, digest, and provide feedback. And we're now already in a period of less than 30 days and still hundreds of pages could be released. That doesn't really seem to make much sense.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, it's a huge issue.
That's why we want to push back the date.
Yeah. And we asked for, in addition to just asking for that 30 days, in the memo that we sent on September 7th, if anyone wants to read it, this is a summary of all of the priority recommendations that we put forward as a coalition of community groups. There's 15 copies, so y'all can fight over them. Not stapled, sorry. But we asked for, in addition to those 30 days, we also asked for 2 additional meetings to be able to talk about the, go back and forth on edits and whatnot. So this is even more time that we don't have. Yeah,
So my name is Beach Carlo. I'm a community member. I've attended some of these meetings. I have read part of the plan, 40 pages in. There's no glossary. They don't define things at all. And one of the things that's pretty alarming to me is that they align themselves with state and regional priorities. So if the region, which if you look at the way that the blue economy has been described by the state, defense is right up there. Defense is right up there, right? So when we're talking about infrastructure, when we're talking about workforce development, just read defense. That's what you should be reading. And so what's alarming to me, again, is that alignment with those priorities and to say, it's an evolving dynamic environment, right? Like those are the actual words, right? The dynamic evolving environment where they're saying, oh, and renewable energy and green infrastructure, we're excited about it, but it's uncertain, right? So there's a lot of vagueness within the plan that is uncomfortable. And to me, it's like, they use the word equity 9 times. 9. And it's all in reference to what the city's plan, the climate plan. So they don't ever use the word equity unless they're talking about economic equity. So when they talk about workforce development, when they talk about going into the schools and providing opportunities, it's all it's not even career exploration, it's saying these jobs exist. There's nothing that says anything about actual community benefit. There's nothing in the plan right now that to me says explicitly what is benefiting the community, just like saying, come work with them. How? It doesn't say how.
Seat on the board.
It doesn't say how when it says, oh, we'll give curriculum to the school. The school already got curriculum. It's Rhode Island. Okay? It's Rhode Island. We're familiar with maritime. Right? So I would encourage you, even if you have an hour to spend time just searching the document for words, does that come up? Where is it listed? Essentially, the advisory committee that they, sort of like put in there doesn't hold any power, right? Anytime the community is named as an advisory, it says, bring it to the table and you'll be there. That's it. There's no decision-making power. There's nothing that says anything about changes to the governance structure, which is appointed by Waterson Terminal and the city, right? And by council. Again, it just, everything is very vague and open in a way that to me is like, if all of a sudden, work becomes super profitable, this state will just join the rest of New England in manufacturing parts of bombs.
Yeah.
And AI data centers, because advanced logistics is also in there.
Oh, yeah.
So we can have a data center on board. Yeah. And there's nothing we can do about it, because it's literally written into the plan.
Yeah. Exactly.
Collective breath, y'all.
Yeah, go ahead, Tim.
One thing that I wanted to make sure doesn't get lost in the conversation, and I don't disagree with everything that's been said, but a big part of the lease agreement that community members, advocated for changes to was these community benefit funds, which might be our next conversation here. But there's 1% going to a sustainability benefit fund, 1% of revenues from Proport going into community. The other one is some kind of community benefit fund.
Don't even.
But I just want to point out that a big role of the master plan is in defining community projects throughout this process that have been talked about and identified, and trying to figure out how, basically identifying those projects for these funding avenues that are new and are created, and there's been a little controversy about them, but they exist. And I just wanted to point out specifically, just to say that there's nothing about community benefit in the plan. There's a few chapters that are specifically.
No. I would specifically say that you can say community benefit, but if it doesn't actually benefit the community, it's not a community benefit.
Right.
So I want to be clear. I don't want what I said to be misinterpreted. That's what I meant.
I'm just pointing out that there's a few chapters that are dedicated to defining potential community benefit projects that we've worked together over the last 2 years gathering to identify for funding, which I think we're working together on that.
But we all gonna say yes, and we're gonna talk about that, Tim, so don't even ask.
Yep.
Yeah, it's actually a great
Don't
segue
even.
because one of the things that we're about to talk about is some of the dismay that we're experiencing at the fact that those funds that have been kind of the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, if you will.
It's the carrot they
The
dangling.
carrot, that we don't actually have self-determination or access to those funds in the way that we were told we would. And we're going to get right there real soon. So, and I think that is at the heart of this matter, because it's also something that we're not willing to move forward and say, okay, we're fine with this plan moving forward to City Council until we know we have access to that money and we have community determination over that money.
Yeah.
So, I want to pass it back to Ron. And
Yeah, actually, before we go to you, and Tim, I don't want to put you on the spot. Has there been any discussion amongst the team about releasing this document like ASAP to the entire community? Is it already on the website?
So the draft plan entirely?
The draft.
Yeah, so we have been working with the MPAC on getting it to the MPAC for a month before the public meeting. So that was our goal, so that they can review and provide comments ahead of the full publication. And the full publication is planned for this public meeting, and a chance to kind of it's a large document. It's got a lot of content in there, and a chance to kind of introduce it in a more like open house collaborative format, and then there would be a period after that meeting where people can still submit comment before it goes.
How long
to
is that
council.
period gonna be?
Yeah, I don't think we've set it yet, just because we haven't set the council calendar yet.
Yeah.
But
Let's help you out for a second. So when you go back to the team, show of hands, how many people feel it would be beneficial for the entire community to have access to that in advance of the community?
Of course.
Yes,
Okay.
the whole
show of
thing.
hands. So when you share, the reason why I say that is a draft is a draft.
Right.
And we don't need to have a big open house to be able to explain it and things of that nature. A lot of people aren't going to be able to make it. And the more time people have an opportunity to spend with it and provide specific feedback on what is or is not in there, I think is going to just make the document that much better. So, all right.
Question. Tim, have you received from Gaza more information than we have received?
GZA.
GZA, the consulting firm that's writing the master plan for Prosport, GZA. So have you received more paperwork, documents
so the
than we have received? You at Civic?
anything of substance, no. But I would just point out, like, I think the draft plan that the MPAC has right now does list out the appendices, and I think the assumption there is that the substance of this plan is in the body of the plan,
Okay.
not the appendices, but those I'm sure are in development, but will be public.
Sorry, let me just say, the plan references the appendices a good amount, and there's information that you can't fully grasp without referencing the appendices, including the entire matrix that responds directly to the community concerns, is one of those appendices.
And Kevin Williams and his team is responsible to write it. To Elwidge's, Edwisha's point, no glossary, if it's meant to be shared with the general public, could we like doctor it up a little bit to help explain stuff in it? Because not everybody is familiar with all the acronyms. And you gotta read it from the beginning to know what it means later on.
It's a big accessibility issue, for sure.
Right now, there's a pretty good executive summary, and I think part of working with the MPAC is to identify these challenges about how we communicate it properly and actually present it properly to the public, is what I would add.
We're running out of time.
Last question.
This gentleman had his hand up before.
Okay.
So I'm new to POV coordinator, so I'm just trying to wrap my head around it. So your main concerns are how the tax dollar or the income is being spent towards the community, and then your other concern is about what goes in there, specifically both from an ethical standpoint and how it serves the community?
Not quite, but I would love to introduce you to this. Outlines all of our biggest concerns. But yeah, no, one thing we're talking about is the community benefit reserve account, which we're about to segue to, and that's the money that Provport pays 1% into a fund called the Community Benefit Reserve Account. That in the ordinance that outlines what that reserve account is for, it has a very broad definition that includes a lot of things that the people here all care about and have been really trying to generate ideas of projects, right? And also the ability to leverage money to get additional funds from other sources. There's been a very long conversation about this, and that money right now is in the Parks Department. And the Parks Department cannot do the things that are in the ordinance that outline what this fund is supposed to do. So that's the thing that we're about to talk about in a second.
Not even a scholarship fund.
Maybe we should go there now.
Yeah, no, let's go there now.
Yeah.
But
You good?
Yeah.
we're gonna go there now. Thank you, folks. I appreciate it. We're running out of time, but we got 30 minutes, but Richard's gonna talk about it. But I wanna, that's not the word, drill in. I don't like drilling or fracking, but I'm drilling to you. For example, some of the things from the Edwin beautifully outlined the blue economy, and I want to talk about that. It's OBS, it's all liquid weapons manufacturer. We don't want to change one thing to one bad thing for an even worse thing, right? But some of the things with the board, for example, they told us, oh, we have a pathway to get our board, because remember they're a nonprofit. We have a pathway to get board members, and one is appointed by city council, one is appointed by the mayor. So we're like, oh great, we could just petition city council, petition the mayor. Well, the last appointee was appointed by Tavares, and the other one was like in 1994 by city council. So that's how, you know, remember Mulan? You know Mulan? Then she has a little dog and she dangles a little stick in front of him so he can do all the chores. And he runs around and feeds the chickens. That's how I feel. Because they're just dangling like, oh, look at, this is how you change the board. And they're dangling. And actually, when we sat down with them, 1994 and Tavares administration, right? So it's like a slap in the face. So we really need you all to be there at this next meeting and to please look at bring anybody that you can to look at these things and see Ron from the peripheral. Yes.
Just one last thing, and again, it goes back to the importance of coming out on the 4th, and also in advance of that, and I think Ellen was talking about possibly putting this document up on the PPA website so that you can get access to it. Sure. But it's really important. What we're going to do is, for the points that we've listened to, that we feel the community has been talking about, that has not found its way into the document, we're going to put it into clear, concise language that this is exactly what we're asking for. It's not in there, and we really feel strongly that it should be. And from, you know, point by point, part of what's on the paper right there, some of it has been addressed in some ways in the draft. Some of it has, you know, a lot of it has not been, and a lot of it has not been done as effectively as we'd like to see it done. So, and one last thing, Tim, if I could, and I know it would be great to kind of frame it in a way that's explanatory to the public and things of that nature, but I say just get it out, right? And you can always draft something that's a summary and things of that nature later on, but right now the draft is ready to go. Get it out into the public's hands so that the public can really review it and comment on it. So.
Tim, you heard? Okay, and also it's not Tim's thing. I mean, you know, it's other people, but they've gotten paid to do this. So do it. Tim, you already know. Richard.
I want to mention one thing.
Hold on,
Everybody can lobby their counselor.
Yeah.
Everybody can lobby their counselor. Wards 10 and 11, which they were invited here tonight.
You know,
and there were no show. And call DEM, call Mary Kay, call Pedro, call Juan. Just
We need all
lobby your counselors.
Yeah, all of them.
Because
Come here,
it's going to
Richard.
end up at city council.
Conservation Law, CLF, Conservation Law Foundation. Going to talk to us about the benefits reserve account. It's a little tricky. It's all combobulated just like everything else, but he knows all the stuff.
How's our time?
Go ahead. You got 10 minutes.
10 minutes, okay. So I'll try to be as concise and to the point as possible. My name is Richard Stang, Conservation Law Foundation. With me tonight is also Aaron Ritter from Conservation Law Foundation. There was a city ordinance that was adopted a few years ago, which extended the tax stabilization agreement for the Port of Providence for 30 years. And that was part of the deal, that they would also extend the lease for 30 years. What was negotiated to come back to the community was 1% of the revenue from Port of Providence would go into a community benefits fund. 1% would go into a separate sustainability fund. The sustainability fund is managed through the city by the State Sustainability Committee. But it's the Sustainability Commission, which is a volunteer board, which Greg Garrett, who is here, sits on. They're the ones that have been very democratically working out how this money will be spent. And they haven't spent any of the money yet. And I think it's up to around 300 and some thousand that has been put aside. Now, the Community Benefits Fund was put with Parks Department. We found out 2 months ago that the Parks Department has already spent $250,000.
Good reporting.
2 projects.
for 2 projects. Now, they were parks in wards 10 and 11, so it didn't go outside those 2 areas. But the ordinance sets forth around 7 purposes to have the money used. Parks is only one of them. And it goes further and it says, and further, the actual use of the community benefit fund will be further detailed in the Provport master plan. So I always took that, well, until the Provport master plan is drafted and approved, there's not going to be any spending of this money. Because where did they get the authority for it? Well, apparently they found the authority somewhere to do it, and they spent it. So we've had 2 meetings already with the Parks Department, and we've been promised that for the time being, they won't spend any more of the money while we're trying to work this out. So we're really trying to figure out how does this money get spent as envisioned by the community and as was described in the impact process as we've been going through this. Even as Tim had mentioned tonight, you have a pool of funds that accrues annually, and it can be used in a number of different ways, including to leverage more money for bigger projects. Right now, at parks can only spend money on park-related pieces. And there is no, unlike the Sustainability Commission, there is no process in place to get community feedback on how those funds are spent. So we're trying to determine if there's a way to work with parks. So one, they can't just spend the money on just parks, that the money is essentially put aside and have a community group that represents the community make the decisions on how it's going to be spent. If that's possible and feasible, how do we do that? And if not, we should change the ordinance so that we take the money from parks and put it into another city agency that would allow that to happen. And there has been floating and discussions back and forth, should that be the sustainability piece as well. So we've got another meeting scheduled with parks, and it's going to be put to them very succinctly. Can you treat this money the way you would treat a gift from an estate? If someone in an estate comes in and gives money and it has specific purposes, how it has to be spent, when it has to be spent, etc., then the parks pretty much go along with that set of instructions. And they're not as bound as if they just get the general funding every year. So that's one. Can we get that set up, and can we have some type of independent board that actually is the one controlling how that money and shaping how that money is spent? And that's going to be embodied in some type of writing so that the community feels that it's permanent and won't just change at the whim of new administrations. So we haven't gotten there yet. We're hoping to try to set this meeting as soon as possible so we can get an answer definitively one way or the other. And then once we have the answer, I think we'll know better what direction to head in. But that in a nutshell is where we're at. And if anyone has questions, please. One second.
To me, because this is all new, so it sounds like it's a major communication issue.
Oh, yes.
Okay, so I just want to point out, so it was failure of communication from parks, from the city councilors in both areas, because I'm going to assume the city councilors knew these parks were being renovated. Also, how did you all find out this was happening?
That had to do with the reporting of some of the individuals here in this room.
Because we knew that they would steal it, and a lot of time had gone by, and I had actually checked with the finance director with the city. So we found out by default that they used two $120,000 pots, one for Ward 10, one for Ward 11. What happened to us? Yeah.
But it wasn't, I mean, it wasn't like city council, I don't think it was Mr. City Council, but it's deliberate because they think it's their money. Like, they think it's their money because it's in parks and they got it allocated to them. It was never put like in an account where it's like, for the report master plan, whatever. And even from the beginning, there's a lot of documentation on this. You can find it online from Steve Alquist reporting on YouTube from the original city council meeting when we even posted it to put it in parks because we're like, why? Because of the same reason. And so they think it's theirs. When we at the city park, it's in our funds. We can do what we want with it.
Steve, you got
I just want to
question?
ask, should the city replace that money now because they use it
Well, we
appropriately?
specifically asked, demanded that they refurbish the funds, and we were told emphatically no.
Well, that was
So-
That's,
already.
I mean, you're asking, but I mean, you could probably compel that through public advocacy maybe.
Yes.
Well, yes,
Yeah.
but the initial reaction is no.
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you.
So, yes, go
Yeah,
ahead.
so I'm curious, because I'm not environmental, but now I'm kind of new to planning processes, and I'm not involved at the community. Have you gotten involved in like the coastal resilience planning process, and sort of the moment at which community is invited to the table, it's way too late. The time to bring community into a planning process is before you decide how that planning process is going to go, who has decision-making control, who is making these decisions that all this money is going to go to the parks and on whose behalf. And so if you, planners are the ones that came up with that whole, continuum of stakeholder engagement. And we're woefully, that was a planner-created matrix. And so community isn't really actually being engaged in planning processes in a way that includes, that respects the level of impact of the people who are being affected by these decisions.
To just give some props to Tim and the council pieces, is that
It's a global observation about it. Before the game is ready.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. But the impact, this process has been going on for well over a year.
2 years.
Or maybe 2 years. And discussions about how this would be, money would be spent, has been going on from the very beginning. And city officials have been sitting there listening to all those discussions and comments. So my question is, okay, so if the city was there and they knew what was expected and what people wanted, why did Parks think it was all right to spend the money? Unless they don't talk to each other.
But before we stay on how the money is being spent, what about the accountability piece and the enforcement piece?
Say
And
again?
what about the accountability piece and the enforcement piece? Because now all community concerns are being like pushed into this. How is this $300,000? I'm sorry, chump change.
Right.
Right? How is this money going to be spent? That's not the conversation that's going on in this room.
Well, again, true, and part of it has been trying to figure out ways to, how does it get spent? And there's been a lot of
Having
discussions.
the voices at the table to begin with.
Right. Go ahead, Aaron.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, even without the misspend, does the language referencing this money in the draft master plan show the authority that the city promised in the ordinance given to the community in a meaningful and impactful way?
Seeing that I only received that plan about a week ago as well, and I haven't had a chance to completely read it.
I happen to review that section in detail.
So please share with us what it says.
And even if they hadn't misspent the money, the way that the spending, the authority is not given to the community in the document, is given to, very succinctly, to Parks and Sustainability Board. without any real ceding of authority or decision-making to the community bodies that develop the priorities.
So that
I
is
was
in the
told that
problem.
was part of finance, back when Helen Anthony was the head of finance through the council. That's what, well, Pedro.
Yeah, but they moved it in the ordinance. We were there that
That's-
day, and
yeah.
then we were there, we were all there, this was like 4 years ago.
Yeah, something like that.
So like I said, it's on YouTube. We're not gonna get to the bottom of it today. We wanted to present this to you all so that you can see the stuff that we're dealing with, and so you can help us in any way that you can to keep pushing
Can I-
for this change. Yes, Steve?
One more point, there's a mayoral election, and I think these
Oh, yeah.
questions should be brought directly to the candidates
Yeah.
in very like public forums and such. And I know that he's, they should be brought to, so put him on the spot.
Governor.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Ray, your question.
Just to defend my friend Ted some more.
He don't need to defend him, go ahead.
It's like, the ordinance was not well, clearly written.
No.
That's it.
Because I don't think they really wanted to keep it. There you go.
And so,
Yeah.
the only, everyone, who is the community? Well, the city councilors have the right to say, we actually got the votes and we won. So, there are also city council elections coming up too, and so it's
Yeah.
like, they're not here.
Yeah,
They were invited.
all of them, all of them.
Yeah.
City council, state.
So I
council.
think that they intended to take it for the scholarship fund.
Yeah.
No offense to people that want the scholarship, but they got pushback. They got pushback, big time pushback, and so here we are, we're stuck with it.
I just have to say, the thing is though that the plan, we were told in an MPAC meeting that the folks, that the consultants who were writing the plan were open to putting in, y'all correct me if I'm wrong, if you were there, putting in the plan a recommendation that the community benefit reserve account be moved out from under parks into somewhere where we can actually use it for the purposes that are outlined in the ordinance.
Yeah.
That's good.
However, when we got the plan on Wednesday, instead, what it does is it tries to clean up the messiness of the ordinance, and there's this whole it's the most bizarre thing I've ever read. It's almost like somebody wrote something and they sent it to the city, and someone at the city was like,
Oh,
because it doesn't make any sense, and it basically tries to say, well, while the community has all these lofty goals for what they want to do with the community benefit reserve account, actually, we're going to defer to parks and to the sustainability commission. That is literally what's in the plan. So I just want to say, I can tell you the page, I have it in my notes. So there's more to, and like I think to somebody's point, like, first of all, we don't want to be fighting with parks over $250,000. That's ridiculous. Like, parks should have the money it needs to repair the parks that are in wards 9 and 10. Period.
right.
This should not have to be like part of their how they figure out how to get the basic things done within parks. This is not a department that we fundamentally are in conflict with, and we're not trying to make enemies with them. But if they don't have the power to steward the money in a way that the community can use it in a self-determined way, like, it's not the place for it.
Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah, yeah. Moving us along, thank you, Ellen, and exactly, and that's part of the bigger picture, like they want us to input in Lakewood Parks, like, are you for real? We're gonna move us along. If you wanna participate, if you wanna add more commentary, if you wanna lead some of these things, please come to us, and we will help you get set up, and we will help you do whatever we gotta do. You help us do what we gotta do. There's a lot of room for all of us to kind of put our pieces together and help out any way we can. I think we did, the call to action was pretty clear. April 4th, and to read the plan, come out however you can, or to just share it. We send stuff out on social media, we send email out, just share it to your list and all that stuff. Yes, Emily?
If you're not already following us on People's Port Authority on Facebook and Instagram, that's a great place to get updates. Also, if you can make sure you put your email in legible writing, that over there, we'll add you to our email list. We don't send a ton of emails, but we do send important emails that you should read.
Absolutely. Any community announcements? There's yes, go ahead, Kevin.
Between March 16th and June, we're going to be delivering new trash and recycling carts to every household that has curbside collection in the city. So if you have like a gray cart, a green cart, blue cart, it's the City of Providence on the side. I didn't bring a presentation tonight because that's not what I was talking about, but it is coming rapidly. Like next week, we'll be delivering the first carts. You can go to providenceri.gov/carts, and you'll go to our website where you can learn more about it. And you can also click the little button that says when are my carts coming or something like that. Delivery schedule probably says something more professional like that. Delivery schedule. You type in your address, it'll tell you when your carts are coming. So please be aware of that. Spread the word around the community so your neighbors know what to do and what to expect.
Thank you. I know, yes, go ahead, Doug.
Since we're at Knight Memorial Library, it's one of 3 libraries in the south side of Providence. If you've not been upstairs, make sure you go upstairs and see the grandeur of this library. So one of the things that Community Libraries of Providence, who oversees the 9 branch libraries in the different neighborhoods, will be starting this spring, is to develop a landscape plan for the exterior of the building that was created by Adam Anderson, designer of this copy. It's going to be a change agent for this library. I'm with the Friends of Knight Memorial Library. If anybody's interested in getting involved, please see me after and I'll get your information. And one of the things that we want to do is we want to create a Lego structure of this library. And so I can give you more information about that. So we're working on a number of things to benefit the library, and you know, that's only like a small bit of everything that's going on.
Thank you so much. You're here with the Oliver, right?
I am.
Come here. A little bit lighthearted. Come here, yeah. A little lighthearted, something cute that we can look forward to at the port, hopefully with all this hard work. Take it over.
Thanks.
You got 3 minutes. Go.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jonathan Kabak. I'm the CEO of an organization called Maritime Rhode Island. Maritime Rhode Island is the new name of an organization called Oliver Hazard Perry Rhode Island. We operate Rhode Island's flagship, the 200-foot square rigger Oliver Hazard Perry. And you might be asking or wondering, why did we rename ourselves? And we renamed ourselves because the conversations in this room, the interest and passion about connecting people to the waterfront is what we're all about. So we realized a number of years ago that it's not just about taking people out to sea for character building experiences, but it's what you do with that experience, what you do with that impact. And the best way to create impact is to build meaningful, profound connections to the environments that we live in. And here in Rhode Island, that is the ocean. That is the sea. We're the ocean state. And most people here in Rhode Island are ocean blind, especially when you get up to places like Foster and Gloucester, where the dragons live. But the reason I'm here tonight is because we have a really exciting initiative, which is that we are trying to relocate the home port of the Oliver Hazard Perry to Providence. And we are hoping that that home port will be along Providence's waterfront, ideally at Collier Point Park. So I am happy to answer questions. I don't want to monopolize any more time because I am terribly afraid of Monica when she gets angry. So I leave you with this. One, if you can remember the words Maritime Rhode Island, my web guy swears to me tomorrow that our website will go live. You can find us on Facebook, on Instagram, whether you type in Maritime RI, whether you type in Maritime Rhode Island, you will find us. If you have 2 seconds to scan a QR code, we invite you all to sign what we're asking community members and stakeholders to sign our letter of support, which simply says that you think it would be great to have Rhode Island's flagship based in Providence and allow us the opportunity to bring to the local community our workforce development programs, our career awareness programs, our STEAM education programs that really focus on building that connection to the bay and the ocean in the hopes that we as a community build more resilient communities for the 21st century. So thank you so much. I yield back all my time.
Thank you so much. Well, you know, we've vetted a couple of times. We met him, and I remember him and with Joe Ayuso. So you know, Joe moved education. So you know, they're vetted. They still got some work to do to earn that trust. But I think it's a really good example of something that we can do, and it gets closer to that Southside Kids Sailing Club that I want. Yes, Patricia, wait.
On March 24th, oh sorry, from Jenny Rivera, on March 24th, we're actually hosting a meeting with the mayor, and I think it's a great time for people to come and ask questions about the cross-border. And so we do have an area identified for that, so if anyone wants to come, put your flyers back.
Thank you.
Who is we?
I'm sorry?
Who is we?
JCP Collective, apologies.
Okay.
And my sister.
Cool.
Twins.
Thank you.
I have one more PBA announcement. Okay, so this is a People's Port Authority announcement. Okay, this is like breaking news, y'all. So get really excited for it. Right? So PPA has entered into a partnership with an amazing water quality professor at Brown University named Mara Freelich and several folks who work with her to do a community-powered citizen science water, air, and soil monitoring project at Public Street. Okay, so this is going to be awesome, y'all. It's going to be intergenerational. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a chance for folks to come and connect with the water, to learn about how to sample soil, air, and water, and learn this and learn what is there. Okay, it's called Water Speak. And because when the water speaks, we listen, because water is life, and water is the story of the water is the story of our community.
What's PPA?
People's Port Authority.
So that's bringing you this.
Yes. So we are looking for I'm up here to tell you two things. One is that we need participants, and so there's going to be, keep an eye out on our Instagram and our newsletter. We'll be looking for folks who want to participate. There's a stipend for up to 15 participants. We're also going to have a couple like parties basically at Public Street where we'll introduce folks to the water quality monitoring especially. And we're also looking for a program associate. And so there's going to be a job description that's going out for somebody looking for someone who wants to help out with that project, someone who wants to, help young people, an intergenerational group of people connect with the water, connect with the science that we're going to be doing there, and share back with the community what we learn about what is at Public Street. Because we're tired of waiting for other people to tell us to do that monitoring and do that science. So we're doing it ourselves. So if you're interested in hearing more about it, please come talk to me about it. Yeah. I'm sorry?
What are the dates?
It's going to start in April. It's last Wednesdays of every month through November, and then it's like the schedule changes a little bit, and we skip 1 month in the summer.
But it'll be posted on our
Yeah, all this information will be sent out, but we'd love to, tell people that to apply.
Findings are documented
Yes.
in Brown?
Yes, Brown is going to be, we're going to have like, what do you call those things? Infographics with findings and all that cool stuff. And that'll all be shared back with the community at the end of the project.
Thank you, Ellen.
Yeah,
Thanks so much. Really quick, thank you all for being here. I got you all on time. Yes, Ron.
All right, this Wednesday, 5:30 at Southside Cultural Center, rent stabilization discussion with Councilors Mary Kay Harris, Juan Machado.
So maybe you could see counselors there too and talk about rent stabilization and this stuff too, because they might show up for that. Thank you, Ron. Any other announcement? What was it, Wednesday?
Wednesday.
Yes.
5:30.
This is just right there, I'm going to mention it, that as part of the demolition and rebuild on the Stewart site, there's a proposal that some of those existing mature trees, which we have precious few of in this neighborhood, get removed. And PMPP, we've been supporting the city and helping make sure that doesn't happen, and hopefully it won't, but might be mentioning that you really care about those beautiful healthy trees that people have been taking care of. And
to whom?
Volunteers, to any elected official or
to the city forester?
No, city foresters work
aware. Yeah.
But and maybe I'll send a message out if we need to do any more.
To Juan Machado.
Thank you.
Who's proposing taking the trees down? Who is?
The
Builders of the school department?
It's a school project?
Yeah, the Gilbert.
Anything else?
They don't need to.
Melissa, that's you.
I'm Melissa with 50 Minute Field Trips, and we're collaborating on the project on the Alaska Nugget watershed, which connects to all the watersheds.
Yep.
But we have a bunch of projects that you can find on our calendar, 15minutefieldtrips.org/calendar. But there's a few coming up. April 3rd, we're doing an adults only learn about the fungus with the watershed art project. April 8th, we're going to be teaming up with PNPP and Breathe Rhode Island and sustainability, like a whole bunch of people at United Way to do a PowerPoint on the museum. And then on April 23rd at Washington Park Library, we're doing a family-friendly, learn about the trees in the watershed and making art for them.
What was it that you talked about, April 18th?
Yes, and April 18th, we'll be doing a bio blitz at Police and Play Park, 9 to 12.
Community garden.
And then, sorry, community garden. And April 25th, we're going to be doing the same thing at City Park. So it's much easier just to remember 15, 15, field trips.org/calendar. It's all there.
She does amazing things with the community. Go ahead, you have one.
Yeah,
Last one.
Right back here, we have this big garden. We put it up last year. It produces really good organic vegetables, high quality. And then every third week, we stand out front and we give out grocery bags to anybody who pulls up. It's a really nice program. We had great volunteers last year, like Doug and the twins here. We desperately need volunteers this year. I'm happy to give you my phone number. If anybody's interested in coming out, I mean, it's a huge garden, we need a lot of help. There's only 3 of us really active members right now, including volunteers, so. Thank you.
Thank you so much, y'all. Thank you. Have a great night. Drive safely. Press, if you want to talk. Oh,